Hi, my name is Brandon Jacob. I'm a senior at the University of Texas at Dallas, and I graduate in May of 2023. My degree is in visual performance and arts with a focus in communications. However, getting here wasn't all that simple. Initially, I started out as a biochemistry major at Texas Tech University in Lubbock, and after doing that for a little while, I realized it wasn't really what I wanted to do. So after I moved back to Dallas, I switched my major to accounting. Now, following my switch to accounting, and after doing that for a few years, I wasn't really feeling fulfilled again, and I felt a huge lack of creativity. So I switched to where I am now, communications, with the goal of going into marketing, and more specifically, understanding how to communicate ideas through video and utilize that in marketing. Now, throughout this whole journey, my main question was, how do we as students know what we want to do? While talking with other students and sharing my journey through college, I realized that, like me, many of my fellow classmates and college students have struggled with this question. And oftentimes, it weighs on students who feel pressure to complete a degree plan while still not yet fully understanding what fulfills them. So my thought when trying to figure out a way to communicate how we solve this issue was this. Uncertainty in your future can oftentimes feel like you're bearing a physical weight. So how can we use the experience of those that have come before us to our advantage? Before we discuss the experience of others, I first want to bring up a question to frame the potential reason for why we would need the experience of others. Is there currently a gap of guidance for students at UTD? To find this out, I couldn't just rely on my own experiences, so I decided to reach out to a fellow classmate and friend to ask him about his experiences.
My name is Kade McDonald, and I'm a senior here at UT Dallas. I'm an interdisciplinary studies major with a focus, or concentration rather, in management.
Like me, Kade's experience in his college path so far has not been a direct line. He had some trial and error while getting here. And how'd you get into that major?
So, kind of a funny story, but basically I was a marketing major, and then basically what I thought marketing was on the academic level didn't really turn out to be what it was. And so then it was like, all right, what's next? And so I shifted over to interdisciplinary studies because I wanted to keep the core credits and everything from JSOM, but then I was able to expand into a little bit more of communications and then just management as a whole.
Now finally, to gain Kade's perspective on the current state of UTD guidance or advising, I asked him if he felt there was a current gap in the guidance for UTD students.
When it comes to advising, I would say yes, because that was the single thing that I found was kind of, I guess I would say, a gray area. And for all I know, that's also just the nature of the beast, so to speak. So once again, I'm not here to be like, oh, they're doing a horrible job. But off of my personal experiences, that's where I say it was kind of frustrating because, for example, whenever I was looking to ask some of those questions about curriculums or the majors and stuff like that, it was more of like, this is the major you're choosing, here are the classes you need, and that was it.
Now, why would using others' experiences help new students or potentially transfer students, or really any student that needs guidance? Now, to illustrate this, I'd like to call upon Robert Cialdini. This is the 5th edition of Influence, Science and Practice by Robert Cialdini. This guy. Cialdini outlines 6 theories of influence. However, I want to focus on the theories liking and authority. Liking, in this instance, is a theory related to similarity, or rather, the fact that you will be more receptive to someone if they're similar to you, such as a college student to another college student. Authority, on the other hand, is the theory related to a difference in positions. For example, a student might be more receptive to an advisor because it is their job to advise or give students guidance. The reason why I decided to talk about Cialdini in this project is because I had an earlier project where I was also talking about Cialdini. We were testing authority versus liking. Now what we did is me and a few of my classmates stood out in front of the UTD library and handed out flyers that had a little QR code on it and would take you to a survey. Now on day one, we were appealing to the authority theory. We were dressed in suits. And on the second day, we were dressed as normal college students appealing to the liking theory. Now what we were testing was to see how many people not only took the flyer, but also how many people completed the survey that was attached. And what we found is that when we were dressed in suits, more people were willing to take the flyer, but those that took the flyer weren't as likely to complete the survey. And on the second day, dressed as regular college students, less people took the flyer. However, those that did were far more likely to complete the survey that was attached. Now, what did I take away from this project? Not that one theory is inherently better than the other, but that each theory has its own specific uses. In thinking about the liking theory, and specifically how similarity can lead to greater levels of influence, I wanted to see if peer-to-peer advising could have any real use at UTD. So I decided to go to the source of where our students get our advising from, our advisors. I contacted my advisor, Ms. Blair Taylor, to see what her thoughts were on peer-to-peer advising, to see if she thought it had any benefits.
I think it can be very valuable. I think there's a limit, right? Part of it is just the legalities of, like, you know, somebody who's a student isn't necessarily going to be aware of all of the ramifications of various choices and, you know, excessive hours and the TSI and all, and we shouldn't expect students to do that. Where I think peer-to-peer advising is very helpful is sometimes that student connection is what will lead a student to go talk to your advisor, go talk to your professor. Here's my experience in the class. It's like anything else, you know, think back to when you were 16, you know, and your parents maybe told you something, you're like, right, okay, you don't know anything. But your friend tells you almost the same thing, but it's coming from your friend. You're more likely to buy in. Even just the idea of like, hey, your advisor's not scary, you should go talk to them. You know, sometimes students need to hear that. I think it's always really valuable because if peer-to-peer advising has its limits, but it also could build more of a sense of community. It's never a bad thing for people to feel like there's more people in their circle. There's more people that care about them and there's more people they have to reach out to.
I really enjoyed Ms. Taylor's response because technically an advisor's position stands to lose the most from admitting that there's any type of gap in guidance for UTD students. However, she was very honest and I really appreciated it because it just showed her passion for the students that she works with. So now, let's get you back to the video. Okay, great. I've formed my own opinions about peer-to-peer advising and I've talked to other people to gain their perspectives. However, I wanted to do some research to see if I could find any examples of peer-to-peer advising actually being put to use to see if it works. So, in doing some research, I found that the University of Massachusetts Amherst utilizes peer-to-peer advising for their public health science majors. Let's take a look. In the article, Developing Leaders, Implementation of a Peer Advising Program for a Public Health Sciences Undergraduate Program by Megan Griffin, Gloria T. Fulvio, and Daniel Shea Gerber, the authors state that peer advising is an integral part of our undergraduate advising system in the public health sciences major at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. The program was developed in 2009 to address the advising needs of a rapidly growing major that went from 25 to over 530 majors between 2007 and 2014. Each year, 9 to 12 top-performing upper-level students are chosen through an intensive application process. A major goal of the program is to provide curriculum and career guidance to students in the major and empower students to their academic and professional pursuits. The year-long program involves several components, including staffing the Drop-In Advising Center, attending training seminars, developing and presenting workshops for students, meeting prospective students and families, evaluating ways to improve the program, and collaborating on self-directed projects. The peer advisors also provide program staff insight into the needs and perspectives of students in the major. In turn, PAs gain valuable leadership and communication skills and learn strategies for improving student success. The peer advising program builds community and fosters personal and professional development for the PAs. The article continues to go over details about the peer advising program. However, the part that caught my attention the most is towards the middle of the article in the peer advisors reflection paper section, where peer advisors shared their thoughts on the program. Some of the reflections that stood out to me were as follows. I've seen myself transform over the course of the year as I learned to take control of my own projects and ideas, feel confident in a role of support for fellow students, and be a valuable member of a productive team. I have been told by professors after a presentation that I come off to the class in a very professional way. I can attribute this to the skill developed as a peer advisor. This reflection in particular stood out to me because it shows how peer advising can help in both directions, not only for the student receiving guidance, but also for the student that is in the more experienced position. Finally, one peer advisor stated that, quote, I think the best part about being a peer advisor is that we have the ability to make changes within the major based on students' interests. We are somewhat like ambassadors for the other public health students. Friends and peers alike come to us with their issues, we analyze them, speak up when necessary, and advocate for change. Overall, I feel like the University of Massachusetts Amherst is a prime example of how peer-to-peer advising can actually be utilized and goes to show why it might be a good idea here at UTD. So, with all that in mind, let's take a trip back to campus so we can wrap things up. Gaining the perspective of others that have come before us can allow us to gain insight in areas that we have less experience in. I hope to utilize this video to achieve three main things. One, to help students just take a second and understand what it is that they truly want to do. Two, to put forth the idea that peer-to-peer advising is actually useful and can help save students time, effort, and also money. And finally, to turn what was just a simple graduation requirement into something that's actually useful, not only for me, but for those who come after me. Thank you very much for watching, and good luck on your journey.